Hi everyone, it's Vesper back again with another video finally. I do have a cold, but I have a cup of tea and my nearly depleted third box of tissue, so please bear with me, gonna do my best. Finally had the chance to sit down and see Black Panther one more time before it left the theaters here in Japan, and was able to sit down after that and hammer out some thoughts on my blog. This post isn't live yet, it's gonna go live soon after this video, but it's what I'm going to be referencing when I make this video. So if you prefer text to video, there is a text option coming. I'll probably put the link in the video description and maybe into the video itself later on, but this video will have spoilers about the movie. If you haven't seen Black Panther, you should watch it before watching this video. Just stop the video now, come back to it later, or else you will not know what the fuck I'm even talking about, and what fun is that? This video may end up being pretty long. I'm long-winded, we all know this. Here's a list of rough talking points that I'm going to be going over in this video. If you do want to hop and jump and skip and choose, jump to the time points that are on the screen now to go back and forward through the video, and yeah, customize your experience or whatever the fuck. I don't know, I don't care, but I personally recommend you listen to the video from start to finish if you have the time. Anyways, I've noticed something. When I ask people who aren't black what they thought of Black Panther, they'll usually respond with something along the lines of, it was pretty good, or it was great, or Wakanda forever. At the same time, me and every other black person who is worth their salt, and no offense to the black people who aren't worth their salt, me and every other black person has been losing it on social media since the movie's release in America in, I think, February. To me, there's a pretty obvious difference between these reactions, and to me that difference is very amusing, but also I just want to roll my eyes. I want to say that it's comparable to the reaction videos that I've seen from some cis and or straight YouTubers reacting to the videos that Janelle Monáe has recently released, Make Me Feel and Pink, before the release of Dirty Computer, before she literally spelled it out for the world. And that reaction is usually something along the lines of, oh my god, this is amazing, this is so amazing, but I feel like I'm missing something. Am I missing something? Meanwhile, I'm just sitting there watching people's reactions to these videos like, yes, you're obviously missing something. Not even something, you are missing everything. How can you even miss this? How can you even be watching the same video as me and miss this? And what has become obvious to me pretty quickly is that my Wakanda Forever is not their Wakanda Forever. It's not your Wakanda Forever if you're not black. Hold up, Vesper. Yes, I know that this is a huge generalization on my part, a huge supposition, but I think it's pretty safe to say that when non-black moviegoers go and see Black Panther, they come away from it as they would any other Hollywood blockbuster of an action movie. Black Panther, you know, that was some good Marvel comic theatrics. That was some good storytelling, really awesome cast, 5 stars, I really liked it. And when viewed like that, yeah, I totally understand where people are coming from with their responses. Yeah, Black Panther is a great movie. When viewed from the perspective of someone who's not black, when viewed uncritically, I suppose it's easy to miss all the gems that director Ryan Coogler put into the movie, infused into the very plot of the movie itself. So here I am to throw out some of my thoughts into the black hole that is the internet, and I am curious if you noticed or had some of the same thoughts while you watched the movie. Let's talk about Wakanda. Wakanda and how it's a fictional, Afrofuturistic version of what Africa could have been had colonialism not repeatedly ravaged, violated, assaulted it and its people. Let's talk about how Africa has always been one of the wealthiest continents in the world when it comes to natural resources. See vibranium, and how those natural resources continue to make companies in so-called first world nations millions. Meanwhile, the people in the lands that are being taken advantage of, whose resources are being siphoned out, continue to suffer from so-called third world problems. I don't think people truly understand what it means to some of us to see an African country that never was. A country that is not only successful by anyone's standards, but is also rich, peaceful, free of colonizers, and that is arguably more technologically advanced than even Stark Labs in the so-called land of the free. Let's talk about how at the end of the movie, T'Challa went and opened up an outreach center in the neighborhood where Killmonger grew up, and how that is a real world thing, something something that people actually commonly do in and for Black communities across America. Let's talk about the foundation that was laid for the next Black Panther movie. The UN conference where T'Challa revealed Wakanda's resources to the world, and the obnoxious comment made by the representative of a so-called developed country. Or, you know, let's not, because we all know how Black Panther 2 is going to play out, because we live it every day, or at least some of us do. Let's talk about Bring Our Girls Back. You know, the hashtag Bring Our Girls Back, which, like the hashtag #MeToo movement, had its short-lived time in the international spotlight until that spotlight moved on to the next crisis a la mode. Did you even catch Coogler's own brief spotlighting of this ongoing issue? You know, the scene in Nigeria where T'Challa went to pick up the undercover Nakia, who was trying to free women who were captured by a militant group that obviously referenced Boko Haram, child soldier and all. Of course, Coogler does not get and should not get all the credit for this scene, but I find it telling how so many people can visually consume this scene without so much of a blink of an eye, without making any connection to real-world events. I mean, the movie is set in Africa, and this is an action flick, so you know, a scene like this, women scared, huddled in the back of trucks with a bunch of men with guns and machetes, you know, it's not that out of place, right? That's just the kind of thing that happens in Africa all the time. What do you mean an action flick would get political? Oh my god. But guess what? What some of you may consider to be politics, others of us consider to be life. So sit back and keep watching, because this movie is full of so-called politics. Let's talk about Killmonger and how the Killmonger that we meet in this movie, Ryan Coogler's version of Killmonger, is literally the most poignant theatrical embodiment of African diaspora identity politics that I've ever seen. And I'm gonna try and unpack some of what I mean by that, so bear with me. Killmonger, who was orphaned in Oakland, California as a kid when he lost his Wakandan father, everything about this character, while apparently a departure from the Killmonger in the comics, is literally a reference to the so-called plight of Black Americans, including his aforementioned backstory. It is a known issue, at least among Black communities in America, that a disproportionate number of Black children grow up without a father figure in their lives. There are a number of reasons for this, but a few of them are actually said in the movie when Killmonger drinks the heart-shaped herb and has a conversation with his father, N'Jabu. N'Jabu says, "No tears for me, son," and Killmonger responds, "People die every day. That's just part of life around here." It's also touched upon early in the movie when it's revealed why N'Jabu even betrayed Wakanda in the first place. N'Jabu said, "I observed for as long as I could. Their leaders have been assassinated. Communities flooded with drugs and weapons. They are overly policed and incarcerated. All over the planet our people suffer." But wait, what's this? People in the Marvel universe being flooded with drugs and weapons, being policed and incarcerated? Oh wait, no, that's just a reference to real-life 1980s, 90s America. The very same America that myself and Killmonger grew up in without fathers in our lives. Seeing far too many of our peers in similar situation, all the while seeing mugshot after mugshot of people that might as well have been our brother, our father, our uncle on the TV, be it on Cops or the evening news, thrown in mass into American prison. The so-called war on drugs was actually a war on Black communities over the very same drug that white America has now decided to legalize and makes millions off of, all the while Black bodies and brown bodies continue to be slaves to the very same system that made N'Jabu sell vibranium to a colonizer in the first place. Jumping to another part of the movie now, because I and this video are going to be all over the place. The part in the movie where a museum curator said, "These items aren't for sale," and Killmonger responded, "How do you think your ancestors got these? Did they pay a fair price or did they take them? Like they took everything else." Burn. Just burn. That was such a good burn. I have to point out how it's such a gross oversimplification to think of Killmonger's character is just yet another antagonist who is bent on getting revenge for his father's death. And yet that seems to be just about as far as the uncritical-minded get when they think about Killmonger. Meanwhile, me and mine are sitting there in the movie theater in tears, doing dance challenges at theaters, the videos of which eventually go viral, and just generally screaming all over the internet because you do not understand. Perhaps what best illustrates the feelings, the mindset that informs transform Killmonger's actions as an antagonist are his final words at the end of the movie. T'Challa said, "We can still heal you," to which Killmonger responded, "Why? So you can lock me up? Nah, just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors who jumped from ships because they knew death was better than bondage." Now, if that wasn't the nail in the coffin that drove home just how infused with reality this movie is, I don't know what would have been. For anyone who actually needed a line like that to be brought back to reality, it probably came too late in the movie. In which case, you should just go watch the movie again. Go watch the movie again. The thing that gets me the most about these final words from Killmonger is that whenever real-world people unequivocally and unapologetically make a reference to slavery and how the history of it affects their decisions or their actions even in the present day, it's not at all uncommon for the listener to make a remark that, intentionally or not, makes light of the speaker's feelings. Ridiculous commentary that is usually along the lines of racism being over, or how this is 2018 and there's only one race, the human race anyway. Comments insinuating not only that racism is actually over, but also that the speaker is clinging to butthurt feelings from days long gone by, and that they need to get over it already. That black people have a victim mentality that is now superfluous. That we need to stop bringing up the so-called race card because really we're not being treated any differently than anyone else. I don't know, I for one appreciate that Killmonger was allowed that moment to voice such feelings and for such feelings to be honored and respected without any awkward silence or commentary. Let's talk about what I am ever so awkwardly going to refer to as the estrangement of African Americans. How the tweaking that Coogler and his team of writers did not only to the character of Killmonger but to the overall story itself allowed them to explore many real-world truths that hit very close to home for some of us. For me, as an African American, as a Black American, the most poignant truth I feel is Killmonger's complicated relationship with Wakanda, and how I feel that that relationship functioned as an allegory to the often unspoken relationship between African Americans and Africa in general, to the connection with Africa, but also the estrangement from Africa, to the desire to reconnect with Africa, but also the complete inability to reconnect with Africa for some of us. Killmonger was born and raised in America with no real connection to Wakanda other than what his belated father left him. Despite that, he, in his own words, waited his entire life to return back to a place that he's actually never even been to before. As he was brought into the room of elders, hands bound as he issued a challenge to T'Challa for the throne, he expressed how wrong he felt he had been by Wakanda. While he did mention the murder of his father at the hands of Black Panther, or rather at the hands of T'Challa's father, he was much more focused on the fact that Wakandans were sitting up in Wakanda comfortable, while many people who looked like them were suffering around the world. Killmonger said, "You know where I'm from? When Black folks started revolutions, they didn't have the firepower to fight their oppressors." Obviously, Killmonger felt a connection to Black people that T'Challa did not, because when Killmonger asserted that T'Challa ought to do something to help the plight of Black people, T'Challa responded, "I am not the king of everyone, I am the king of Wakanda." Despite having an African-American mother and being born and raised in America, Killmonger sees himself as being just as Wakandan and just as entitled to the throne as T'Challa. Meanwhile, he gets referred to more than once in the movie by Wakandans as an outsider, and even as one of ours by Agent Ross, who is arguably the movie's token white guy. But wait! Identity politics in an action flick? I mean, you have an antagonist who is fighting to claim something based on something that he feels he is, i.e. Wakandan. Meanwhile, you have Wakandans who are making offhanded comments throughout the movie that show they view him as being no different than an American. And not just as an American, they see him as being no different, no less of an outsider than Agent Ross, the token white guy. Where have I heard that before? see post that is probably popping up in the cards right now. Even though I don't identify as biracial or mixed, I found myself relating to Killmonger on a very personal level for numerous reasons, but none more acutely so than the ambiguous gray area of his Wakandan versus Black African American identity. Even though I'm sure that Killmonger himself did not see those identities being at all ambiguous or in conflict with one another, it's obvious that the people around him did. And that very much mirrors feelings that I've had myself in regards to my own blackness. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who found themselves relating to Killmonger in this way. Let's talk about the Dora Milaje, although I feel like there isn't much to be said about the awesomeness of this group of female warriors who protected Black Panther throughout the movie, because their awesomeness is self-evident and is pretty much the reason to go see the movie, because who cares about T'Challa? I'm sorry. While not perfect, there is a lot to be happy about the role that women played in every facet of the story and the plot of this movie. Be it Okoye and the Dora Milaje, or the scientific genius that is Shuri, T'Challa's younger sister, or even the Jabari women who joined M'Baku in fighting against the border tribe at the end of the movie. People are praising this movie for its strong representation of women, especially when it comes to the Marvel Universe, which is generally lacking not just when it comes to female rep, but more specifically representation of Black women. I'd just like to throw out there is that the Dora Milaje are actually based in reality on an actual group of African women who protected their king. Also, I think I read somewhere where there might be a TV series in the work based on the Dora Milaje. That would be cool. And last but certainly not least, let's talk about the hashtag LetAyoHaveAGirlfriend. Not everyone who saw the movie will know this, but there is a spin-off to the Black Panther comics called World of Wakanda. World of Wakanda is a comic series that is created by two Black women, a first when it comes to Marvel Comics. And it follows the lives of two former Dora Milaje, only one of whom has made an appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far. And that one character is Ayo, who coincidentally is the character who also made an appearance in Captain America Civil War, whose role in the actual Black Panther movie pretty much takes a backseat to Okoye, who is the leader of the Dora Milaje. In the comics, Ayo is a queer woman whose relationship with the other main character, Aneko, who isn't in the movies thus far, is not only canon, but is arguably central to the story of the comic series. Leading up to Black Panther's release in the US, there was speculation on the part of fans about whether the Marvel Cinematic Universe would finally have its first openly queer couple. Well, suffice it to say that Marvel did not handle this speculation on the part of fans very well, and just as what happened previously with Captain America and Frozen, among others, disgruntled fans took to social media, most notably Twitter, in protest with the hashtag LetAyoHaveAGirlfriend. Except no, it wasn't the same this time, because calls both for and against Ayo having a girlfriend were noticeably different to me. This time they were noticeably racially charged, and there were fewer calls for Ayo to have a girlfriend. First time I saw Black Panther, I left the theater beside myself with what I'm going to totally inadequately refer to as excitement. I was excited that children today and in years to come would grow up with an opportunity that I hadn't had. That is, that they would grow up with the opportunity to see themselves in a movie as empowering as this one. As someone who grew up with only one character, Marvel or otherwise, on TV who resembled themselves enough for them to see themselves in and be inspired by, I knew what a movie like this would have meant to me back then, and thus I'm able to imagine what this movie will mean to children today and going forward. And yet I have to stop myself from going so far as imagining what it would have meant to me to see queer Black women in a relationship on the big screen. I cannot even begin to tell you how much that would have meant to me as a kid. I dare not even hope for it, lest Marvel unabashedly shatter that hope, leaving me in pieces on the theater floor after Black Panther 2. There I was, yet again, watching hashtag activism unfold until I had to turn away because I was fed up with it. No matter how personally relevant to me that hashtag was, I would not get involved with it. I had already learned my lesson. But still, I noticed the difference in how people did or didn't approach the hashtag. More importantly, I noticed noticed who approached the hashtag, who didn't, and who rejected it, and in what manner they did so. And let me just say that I am not the least bit surprised or amused. All those queer voices that had been behind Let Elsa Have a Girlfriend, all those queer voices that have been behind Let Captain America Have a Boyfriend, where were they now? Some of them were there, but the absence of most of them was duly noted. Everything about how people are consuming this movie, be it in regards to other movies in the Marvel Universe or beyond, is different. Actually, let me reword that. Everything about how people are consuming this movie in comparison with other Marvel Universe movies and beyond is exactly the same as your standard typical blockbuster movie, for those who are not Black. And the fact that it isn't different for many people is very telling to me. At the same time, not at all surprising. That difference in how I and other Black people have consumed this movie and how others non-Black people have consumed this movie has left me rather uncomfortable and puts me in an uncomfortable situation in general. I really hate how uncritically people are consuming this movie. I hate how, unlike other movies, I can't just strike up a conversation with coworkers, students, friends about what they think of the movie. Because the second I do, I wince, because it immediately becomes apparent to me that when they talk about the movie, they talk about it in a way that makes me feel like they watched a completely different movie than the movie that I watched, even though we watched the exact same movie. Because we are not on the same page. And while I may be a Marvel fan to some extent or another, I really couldn't give a damn about the page that they are on when they watched that movie. For me, that movie is literally something else entirely. I hate it. I hate it how I do actually wince every time I see a non-Black, a non-African Marvel fan cross their arms across their chest and say Wakanda Forever, because their Wakanda Forever is not my Wakanda Forever. And while that's completely okay, there's nothing wrong with that, I wish they would at least be conscious, even a little bit aware of the fact that when they say Wakanda Forever, it does not mean the same thing as when Black people say Wakanda Forever, but they're not. And that is my problem. And as you can see, it took me forever to get out all of these thoughts on video, because I had to stop and drink my tea and blow my nose and cough up a lung and retake a million times. You can see how the light has changed because it's literally hours after I started. Yeah, but I did it. Woo! If you made it all the way to the end of this video, oh my god, thank you. Thank you. You are amazing. You are an amazing person. Thank you. No, but seriously, thank you for watching. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Black Panther was so empowering in general. Like, seriously, I've never been so empowered by a movie ever. But also, I was so inspired that I finally figured out, I think, what I want to do with my hair when these locks are gone. Yeah. Next 2 years, probably.